信望全献，家有五宝。
Hello， 欢迎大家回到我们的爱信望全献，家有五宝。
耶
！OK， 在我们这第三季的尾部，我们今天是一个特别的一集，因为我们将使用我们的第二语言来录。我们这一集之所以用英文呢，是因为我们的嘉宾他的母语是英文，所以为了让我们彼此可以分享的更透彻，我们打算用英文来录这一集。那我们的嘉宾就是我们的姐夫 Cameron。我相信可能对很多听众来说，我们的姐夫并不是一个陌生的人物，他在我们之前很多集数都常常被提到，但是他本人并没有自己出现过在我们这一集，所以非常的开心可以邀请到他来。那今天呢，我们主要想来分享聊一些他和爱姐认识的过程，以及他认识我们家的这个心路历程，以及我们认识他的心路历程，这当中有什么可能有趣事啊，或是一些反思，所以我们就正式的开始使用英文。从现在开始，假如你用中文的话，你要请我喝珍珠奶茶。
哪一次没有请你喝珍珠奶茶
？Okay, 1 cup for me. Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Yihu Lee. So now we start using English. So before we start, we already started. As we start, I would love to hear from Irene and Cameron. And can you guys please share briefly about how you met?
Thank you, Ehud. So my name's Cameron. This is my first time on this podcast. But I guess I can introduce myself a little and how Irene and I met. So I grew up in the middle of the U.S. in Kansas City specifically. So very far from Taiwan and all things Chinese culture. But I went to college in the University of Kansas and met Irene there as she was pursuing her graduate degree. So we were both serving in a ministry for international students, and I got to know her there over the course of several months I think we were there a total of 3 years. So that was the context where we first met.
Yeah. And I think we got closer actually because of Wang Wang. Shout out to Wang Wang. So I think it's not necessarily closer, but I think you got more interested in me because of meeting Wang Wang, right? Because Wang Wang came to visit for a winter break, and then you happened to room with him during a retreat. And then through more interaction with him, you got to know more about our family and a little bit of my story. And I think that was a very interesting part of our story. Yeah. So I think after Wang Wang left, for that semester, we also had the opportunity to do a book study together besides the international ministry. Yeah, so that also gave us another opportunity to see each other during the week. And I think that was the turning point.
Yeah, light bulb moment.
Light bulb moment, yeah.
Yeah, so after meeting Wang Wang, I think meeting Wang Wang was just a chance. I mean, Irene and I were always peers at a distance, and getting to know Wang Wang I think we kind of hit it off and felt like he was pretty easy to get to know, and I think that just made me more aware of this family. So actually, really from the beginning, I think I was aware that Irene, if I was going to date Irene, I was going to get to know this big family. Mm-hmm. And that was even part of probably evaluating if I want to ask Irene out on a date. But about 4 months later, I asked Irene out on our first date. I don't know how much detail we want to go into about that.
The moral of the story is Ehud is a great PR for the Lee family.
I don't.
Why is that a conclusion?
Okay, thank you for that starter. I think it'd be fun to go around and for us to all kind of share was our first impression of Cameron? When I first met Cameron, I think I met him after we went to like a concert, but that was very brief. But I think I more officially met him at the retreat. But that was like a Chinese church retreat. Mm-hmm. So I just respected him a lot to show up at a Chinese church retreat where you don't really know that much of what's going on, but he's just there because he's curious. Mm-hmm. So that was pretty cool. That's my first impression.
Are we talking about the impression of first meeting him or first heard about him?
Whatever you want.
Probably first impression meeting.
Yeah, in person.
Because I didn't get to meet him until a few months, right? But then a few months before they officially started dating. But then I already heard of him for a while before meeting him. Yeah. So I think the first impression, I think we went to Anne's house, like their friend's house, and they were hosting like an international student lunch after church. I think that was the first time meeting him, and then he was just kind of like chatting with everyone. Yeah, so just like a typical white guy for me, to be honest. I didn't really have much impression of him. Just like a typical nice guy you probably will meet at church.
I think that was kind of similar to your first impression too, though.
Yeah. But I won't say it's a typical white guy, you know, okay. Because I think you also strike me as you're very chatty, very friendly, and wanting to get to know everybody. Yeah. So I think that I actually appreciate that. I think it's very unique that you want to like get to know every single person. Yeah, and then you're very good at making conversation. If the table is just quiet eating, you will definitely initiate a topic for people to share.
For me, it's my last day of high school actually, and then Cameron visited Shanghai with the whole family was there, and I just saw him. I was like, okay, he's very tall. And oh wow, he's actually pretty white. Just kidding, no. Because I only saw the picture once, okay, of him. Yeah, and then over lunch, I realized he couldn't eat seafood, and then I ordered a seafood udon at lunch, and it was kind of awkward. But yeah, that's the first impression.
So I met Cameron the same time as Barnabas met him, because it's during summer, and it's like our first time meeting him. Like nothing special really happened, and I can't remember. Yeah, it's been a long time ago. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is a while ago. All right, how about for you, Cameron? I think the first time you met the whole family was like 2 or 3 years ago during summertime. Yeah, so what was like that for you? Because you probably already heard a lot from Irene about our family. You met some of us like individually, but never has the whole family, also including the parents. What was that like for you?
Yeah, man, where do I start? I guess, so you're right. So when you guys were in the States, I'd only met Ehud and Faith before seeing the whole family together. So honestly, I was pretty nervous to come and get to know the entire family. You guys have a big family, so it's a little intimidating for me. I came from a family of just 4 people total. So definitely a lot bigger. I think my first impression, I had quite a few. I think your closeness as a family was definitely the biggest thing. I could just tell that you guys were all used to spending a lot of time with each other growing up and had close relationships, so that it just, compared to like my upbringing, I was definitely used to having, my brother's 7 years older than me, so my relationship with him is kind of more distanced. And then living with my parents, we each kind of had our own personal space where we'd always be able to be quiet and separated from one another if we wanted to. Whereas I could tell that your family was so used to living in proximity to one another. in pretty much every aspect of life. So I think the closeness definitely struck me as something that was unique compared to my family.
Is that a good thing though?
Yeah, I think overall, I think I was definitely impressed by it. I think it was just intimidating to be bumping into all this family that seems so tightly knit. I feel like I'm outside of this bubble where everyone is very protective of one another and very loving with like towards one another. Like my impression was, I think I was impressed that a family of 7 people can
Be that close.
And I think, yeah, I think I was, yeah, I had a very positive impression of it, but I think I also was a little bit in a state of shock, especially finding out that your apartment was pretty, like compared to my standard, small with a family of 7. The few friends I have who have a family of 7 have a huge house with 3 floors and everyone still has their own space and their own room. I think it was just shocking to me that you guys are sharing rooms and everything like that.
That's also part of learning Chinese culture. Because most Chinese don't own such a big house like what you have in the Midwest.
No, most Chinese don't have that many kids. So
they don't have that many. They don't need a big
of a
space.
house in the park.
Yeah, I think that's something that didn't strike me growing up as a unique feature of our family. But I think when I realized that, oh, like our older sister is bringing back a guy, and suddenly it's a whole new dynamic of what this means. I think one word you said that stood out was like protective, and I think that's definitely true. And I think that our most protective sibling should share more about what that looked like for her. So let's welcome Felicity to the podium.
What do you want me to share?
You can share what does that mean for you?
You mean being protective?
Being protected, yeah, in our family.
I don't think I was aware I was being protective. I think because this is a very new experience for everyone. So seeing Irene dating initially was like a dating show for me. You know, like she started to talk about this person more consistently. And then I was even able to predict like when was the time he asked her out, you know, like so I was very involved in every steps of it. But then when they actually got very serious, like Cameron told me, oh, he's going to propose. Yeah, I think that's the time I kind of shifted. Oh, okay, this is actually happening. You know, like and then actually before that was when he visited Shanghai, right? We were talking about the first time we met him as the whole family. That was weird too because like the first time, and then after just a few months, he was already so close to the whole family. Yeah, but then because we didn't have anything to compare to, right? So then he kind of set a standard of everything. Yeah, so that was kind of something I personally took a while to adjust and to adapt. Yeah, and I think Irene also changed a little bit during the time they were dating. I think now she's more like the person I have known for a while. But I think when they were dating, she changed a little bit. But I was talking with another friend the other day, and then she shared the same thing. Like when she saw her brother start to date another girl, she can see the different sides of him. Yeah, so that's how I felt. I saw a different side of Irene that was very new to me. Yeah, so I think because of that, I started to be more protective, just to be more conscious, because everyone else was just like, yay, like, you know. But then for me, it's more like, are we actually going to I don't know, take it so serious, like he's going to be a part of the family, right? Yeah, so I think that was the reason I kind of becoming more protective. But then I didn't know I was being protective, right? So I think my behaviors for Cameron or for Irene was like, oh, she's just being weird, or she's not welcoming. Yeah, so that was kind of how we had a few conversation, like serious conversation, and to make sure we were on the same page and not have any miscommunication or misunderstanding between us.
Yeah, and I guess from my perspective, that started before I even visited the whole family in Shanghai. And I think it really set the tone that if I'm going to date Irene with a serious intention, then I better not be... basically, I better not be messing around. From the early days, basically, I think it was the first month that I started dating Irene officially. Your guys' dad sent me a written interview with 10 questions that were
more than 10
maybe
questions.
It was 15 questions.
Yeah.
They were serious questions. They were heavy hitters. They were like, do you have any student loans? What's your 5-year plan? Tell me about your family in detail. What's your intentions with your relationship with Irene? I feel like there was always a chance to pump the brakes for your family to ask me, hey, is this serious? And if so, we want to know more about you. And I think, of course I was surprised when I got that email with the written interview, or the first time I met Faith and kind of heard or sensed that there was some protectiveness there. But I think that was ultimately really good. When I got to thinking about it, I could tell that Irene was surrounded by a family that loved her dearly and does not want any random guy coming in to play around with her heart. And so I think at first, of course, I was shocked. And that is something that made me really nervous to come to Shanghai, because I already had felt like I'm being evaluated. And then living so closely with you guys, I just felt like I was walking on eggshells. Especially because it was also a time of culture shock for me, and I just did not feel able to make a good first impression. Whereas I talked to a friend who also has an intercultural marriage. I actually called him when I was in Shanghai for the first time, and he laughed when I told him my experience, and he said, yeah, I bet you were good at making first impressions in the US, huh? Because I just really felt like I was floundering. So I think the protectiveness that I felt from you guys was something that in hindsight I think was probably healthy.
Yeah, I can only imagine the amount of courage it takes to fly across the Pacific Ocean and to go visit your girlfriend's family after a few months of dating. Yeah, and I think that during that time it was I think most of the 3 boys are kind of oblivious throughout the whole process. We're just vibing and chilling. But I think it definitely hit harder for Faith than the rest of us, because Faith and Irene are very close growing up, and just like Irene as the trailblazer, and now she's the trailblazer for the first one getting married. So like no one has ever brought anyone back, like, to the family, ever. I think it's also interesting, and both Faith and Cameron kind of point out to it, is we kind of get to know Irene in a different light, because I've never seen her like any guy before. Like, it's just, that side of her is just a mystery. It's like unlocking a new character in a video game.
Wow.
Like a new
I never heard you describe like that.
Yeah. So I think now we can shift gears to talking about that. It's like what is there any new things about Irene that we learned?
I think it's more fair for just the 3 of you to share, right? Because especially at the beginning, like Stefan really was afar, but at least you 3, distance-wise, right? It's closer. And we actually, before the Asia trip, we had a trip together once, right? So maybe you can reflect on that experience in Christmas. No,
that's
that was
after.
after.
That was after.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was end of 2023.
That's like
My timeline was already mixed up. Sorry. Yeah, okay. Never mind.
I think the first thing I noticed the most is that Irene has different priorities in her life. Like she's having to take care of this person, or like care for this person more than the family. Or like the most evident example I can think of is during that trip, during the Christmas break, that I really want to make sure that Cameron is having a good relationship with us, and that kind of result to many conversations. And yeah, I can definitely understand why Irene was doing that. Yeah, but I think that's it.
Yeah, but I think it requires some context to understand what you were talking about.
Oh yeah.
And I think we can definitely share from different perspectives. So after the Asia trip, right? So they came back during summer, and then I think it was the same year, right? It was the same year during Christmas, and after they got engaged. So they got engaged, and I was in Texas, and Cameron's brother is also in Texas. So they were planning to have Christmas in Texas that year. So Yihu and Barnabas, they came to visit me first, and then Irene and Cameron, they drove down from Kansas to Austin. So we were together for a few days. Yeah. So I think I definitely observed some changes in Irene, but then I couldn't really articulate like what were the differences. Yeah. But then during that trip, we were kind of able to pinpoint like, oh, okay, like she's becoming a little bit more like Cameron. So what I mean by more like Cameron is like she's really in a multicultural kind of experience. Like she got to meet his side of families, right? So I think for Americans, they are very good at hosting people. They make people feel very welcome, at least like when they first meet you. Yeah, so I think Irene was like getting a lot of gifts, you know, like she always told us about like how she interacted with Cameron's grandparents, or like her cousin, his cousins. Yeah, so when Cameron arrived that day, I remember I was working, because I was still working. They already started to have their Christmas break. Yeah, so I was definitely still very tired after work, and then they arrived. So I think the expectation, at least from Blaine, was like, oh, we need to like give them a very warm welcome. But I couldn't really like, I didn't really know what was that like, you know. But then for me, just like, oh, like I already opened up my apartment. I already inviting them to be here, and then I hosted them for the weekends. You know, I just feel like the gesture I was already like putting out to them, like what I'm showing, was already welcoming them to come for the Christmas break. Yeah, but then I think from their perspective was like I didn't really show that I was welcoming them. And then because of my job after work, I usually don't want to speak in English at all. So when Cameron was there, and I know that Irene will translate everything, so I just say whatever I want. Yeah, right. But then I think I definitely could have been more thoughtful. It's just like, oh, he wanted to be part of the conversation, right? So I should have speak more English, but that wasn't the case during that time. Yeah, so I think that kind of just triggers some emotions from both sides, because Irene was being very defensive, you know, like, so when we were talking about this, Irene definitely was always on Cameron's side. Yeah, right. And then so I was like, this is my place. Yeah, so that kind of just like and we were trying to, you know, not having any arguments, because it was also for us after a few months to be able to get together. But then I feel like that was a necessary conversation to have, because I think if we didn't have that conversation, we might probably even have more misunderstanding toward each other. Yeah, so that was kind of like, I think, kind of going with what Barnabas was saying, like Irene has different priority, and then she has someone she needs to protect, and that totally makes sense. But then just like during that time, it was harder for us to understand like what's going on.
Yeah, I think that was a learning experience for both of us. For us, just individually, it kind of was a wake-up call to Irene and I that we're affecting each other. Because I think Irene, before knowing me, wouldn't expect the like classic American warm welcome. But I think I just influenced her by meeting my family, like you said. So that helped us to take a moment to stop and think, oh wow, we are affecting each other and how we view things, and this could easily cause us to act in ways that put our family in a situation where they're confused.
Yeah, I think I remember that day. I think Irene and Faith were having a tense conversation, and we were like, okay, we're gonna call Cameron and come back. We're gonna all talk about it. And then we talk about it, and people shed some tears, but I think it's kind of the first time that we have to put those emotions into English, or you just have to verbalize it, because none of us ever experienced that. And I think at first it was just like, oh, they are dating, so go them. But then you realize that, oh, like the way they date and their relationship actually have a huge influence on the family. And now we have to take that initiative to be curious and learn about their relationship. It can no longer be, oh, we just know Irene and that's enough. But we have to know them as a couple, and support whatever step and their vision they have. Because like our dad always said that, oh, like 女儿就是要嫁出去, the daughter goes out of the family. So I was like, oh, then let them do their thing. But I do feel like for our family, like we're still very tight and very close. So that was definitely a learning curve of navigating this cultural nuance. Like yesterday I was calling a friend and we're talking a bit about cross-cultural marriage as well, because he's also in a cross-cultural marriage, and he said it's definitely easier if you marry someone with the same culture, that there are a lot of the same assumptions, and it is probably easier. But a cross-cultural marriage like forces you to dissect and think through about why your culture do the things they do and what they really value, and now you'd be able to kind of create a new culture out of it. So I think that was definitely an experience for us to know, because we grew up like pretty familiar with Western culture, but this is the first time that we have to like interact with it on this level. So it's just very interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, I think definitely there are several layers, right? Like first of all, there's a language layer, right? The language barrier, right? So I think Faith's feeling was valid, right? After a long day of work, she didn't want to keep using English to communicate, right? But the second layer was also our family culture, right? We have a very distinct and very close family culture, as you guys already know. So I think my expectation was just a little bit higher, right? Like I want everybody to be able to interact in a very intimate level, but that actually is a lot to ask at that moment. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely a time, and then because we weren't living close corners for such a long time, right? And then when we all came together for a winter break, then we immediately wanted to build that level of closeness, and that could be intimidating.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I personally remember like that, yeah, at the end of that trip, like as we came together and then just to pray over just like a reflect of our conflicts in that trip. And I remember like we prayed about, oh, our family is stepping into a new age, new era. So someone's getting married, and then how do we, as a family, navigate in this situation? And I just feel like that's, for me, is turning point, knowing that, oh, my sister actually getting married, and then we had to welcome Cameron into our family.
Yeah, I think a fun question we'll ask is, I think first for Cameron, is like, how did getting to know our family like help you understand Irene better? And I think for us, we can answer the question like, like what do you think Cameron bring out in Irene? Or perhaps what do you like or admire about their relationship?
I think there's a lot of aspects that I learned, or there's a lot of things I've learned about Irene while getting to know your guys' family. Because as much as Irene's an individual, I can see the way that she grew up with you guys and always connected to you guys, and how she grew up under your parents and their parenting style. One thing that definitely sticks out is the fact that she's the oldest of 5 siblings. When I was first dating her, I think I always just saw this certain level of responsibility that she took for any ministry activities we were involved in or church things. And I think I always saw that as a sign of maturity. But in context, I can see how that comes, especially came from being the oldest sibling of 5 siblings, just feeling a certain desire to be a leader among the family, or maybe in a more nurturing way, be responsible for caretaking of the family. So I think that side became more evident why she has that personality as I heard her call you guys more and more often and see the way she talks to you guys. So that same caring, nurturing, responsible nature that I saw in church or other contexts or towards me, I can see that she shows it to you guys as well, and she probably did long before she met me.
That's a good answer. I think one thing that definitely Cameron brings out of Irene is definitely more of her childishness.
Really?
Or childlikeness, whatever you want to call that.
Never expected
Like
that.
when we start visiting Irene after they're married, one day we went. No, not one day. One time I visited, and we found out that Irene never throws out the trash. It's always Cameron. and I was like, wow, this is a very different. I never thought my sister would be like this.
Wait, but how is that childlikeness? Like,
I don't think that's the right word.
Or you can use the word. I think she just like depend on him more, on many things, and Cameron's willing to take up those responsibilities, and she can kind of just be taken care of, which is not really like because she most of the time like taking care of us, right? And now she's being taken care of in that capacity. So I just thought it was very funny. And it's like
Very funny.
a new side of her that I didn't expect to see.
Honestly, I'm not surprised because like in normal family context, Irene always divvy up the chores to us.
yeah.
So I'll just see that Irene is treating Cameron as a younger sibling, just doing all the chores for him to do.
So you can definitely say in a nice or not so nice way. The nice way is Cameron is taking care of her.
Yeah.
The not nice way is
Irene's just a princess.
Irene
I
has
think
another
Faith would
meaning.
say Irene elevated to the princess status.
Wow.
I didn't say that.
Treatment.
I didn't say that. Yeah. But Irene definitely enjoys taking care of people. Like, she finds joy, and then she finds a lot of, I don't know, she feels proud of doing it.
Gratification.
Yeah, so I think being with Cameron, she has a lot of opportunities to take care of people. Yeah, and I think that like sometimes like kind of annoys me is she like to share that with the rest of family. You know, like in the beginning when we first found out, Cameron has will be allergic when he eats shrimp, right? But we didn't know that before. And I think when they first started dating, that was like a big deal. I think one time you accidentally ate one during the small group, and then you went to ER, or I don't remember like what exactly had happened, and she was like so scared, and she called us like she was about to cry. But then so that made the whole family feel very scary. Like we just feel like we need to share all this with her. Yeah, so sometimes I did better. Yeah, but then I don't know if she called like everyone, but she definitely called me, and that made me feel like okay. Yeah, so I think she likes to take care of people, but also she also needs someone to share that with her. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing is really cute about Irene and Cameron is that it's only probably Irene only. Irene's like, and whenever we're sharing something, we're finally like, oh, our dad can do that, or our sibling can do that, and I'm always like, oh, Cameron can also do that, you know?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. So like she needs to make sure Cameron is involved. Yeah. Then Cameron can do that too. Yeah, she's like Cameron's manager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Advocate.
Yeah, advocate. Yeah. But I think because of that, I think also because of that, we got to know Cameron like faster, you know, when we first got to know him. Yeah, so I think, and then also how much Cameron is willing to be involved to the family. Like Cameron's helping out with both you and Stefan's like college application stuff pretty early on, right? I think for Barnabas, even when they were just started dating, right? Yeah, and then Stefan is more recently. Yeah, it's just like how much he's willing to contribute and willing to do it. Yeah, I think that also sets another standard for the rest of us.
I think it also introduced a little tension that Irene liked to overshare about me. Because I think it could have even come from me kind of saying I want to be involved. But I think it also puts you guys in an awkward position where without seeing me in person, you were kind of being told about me to get to know me by like proxy. And I think that can be challenging because I remember when we met in person, I definitely felt like, oh, it's they want to, like, they need time to get to know me. And I think I had the perspective of I'm ready to be friends with all of you guys immediately. But I think that's not necessarily that's not a normal or natural thing. And so I feel like there was extra tension on how I got along with you guys or got to know you guys based on the fact that we were Irene was sharing a lot about me to you guys.
Yeah. And sometimes she will exaggerate. Like if you know her, like she will just make a simple story into a very dramatic story. I think that also kind of created the tension like Cameron was talking about. Because in the beginning, Irene was always like, Cameron wants to know you. Cameron wants to be your friends. You know, like, but then when Cameron and I first met, Cameron was so quiet too. So I didn't feel like he wanted to know me. And I also didn't prepare like I want to like get to know him that much too. But then because Irene just keep talking, like keep sharing that, and that just like created a very like a confusion.
It's me. Hi.
Yeah.
I'm the problem.
But then I think yeah, it's you. But then eventually I think Cameron and I, we kind of have this mutual understanding that it takes time, right? I think that's just normal to take time. But then because Irene was like so rushed to like, especially to me, I think because boys, they eventually got to know you, yeah, in different ways, and they are more chilled, yeah. But then so I think I had to like have this serious conversation with Irene multiple times that she needs to calm down. Like it's okay to not to be that close in the beginning. Yeah. So Irene, did you learn your lesson?
Yes.
I think it also came from me though too. Just because I think especially my family's culture, if like you guys have met my mom a couple times, Irene's first time visiting my family, my mom there was like an assumption that Irene's already in. Like my mom was super over the top nice to her and yeah, gave her a gift and always said, oh, how happy she's around. And so I think there was definitely, maybe it's a cultural difference, but even like a family culture difference that, especially in our family, like when a new person comes in, the response is, I'm going to immediately accept you until you give me reason not to. Which, yes, I learned in hindsight is not the norm and actually can feel very forced. So I think because Irene was getting to know me better through all that process of dating, maybe she saw that perspective of my family and expected something similar from you guys, or I did at least. And so it just comes out of Irene as the one in between us.
Yeah. And I also feel like for Asian, at least, that's what, like, at least people around me, how we talk about it is more like, if we accept you, we treat you more
Earnestly.
I don't know how to say this. Like, we actually treat you more in the not too dramatic way, you know, if we are accepting you, okay? If we give you a pretty warm welcome and then treat you as like the guest, then you are just a guest, you know, like you are not a part of the family. But then, yeah, so I think that was also like kind of what I was doing. I feel like, yeah, I already welcome you to my apartment, so I already accept you. Yeah, but then definitely we didn't say that directly, so you probably didn't feel that way. But then it just like, probably that's already how we show we are welcoming a new person to the family. Yeah, so that definitely was also something new that we recognized later on. Yeah.
But I feel like I'm very impressed by Cameron's culture learning, or like how far he willing to go into Chinese culture, especially the cooking part. I feel like he's way better. It's way Chinese in that than me for sure. Like knowing all the ingredients and like going grocery and buying all that ingredient, making like 包子, like 饺子, and yeah, like even like the 花生米. I was like, bro, what the? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you all for sharing. I think something that stood out from all this conversation, I think to me is the power of the gospel. Yeah, because I think it's really that love, you know. They both, like Irene and Cameron, they started serving together in ministry, and it's their mutual love for Christ that draw them to one another. And if it wasn't for that, you know, they wouldn't have put in that much work to work through all these barriers and trials together. I think they have a unique calling placed on their marriage, and all these things that they've been through are God's ways of sanctifying and preparing them for whatever lies ahead. So I think this journey of us getting to know Cameron and us getting to know Cameron and Irene's marriage it's just the starting point, you know. It's only been 2 years, and they are really been the trailblazer and the model for the rest of us of what being married looked like, you know, all the struggle they have to face with finding a place to live, with finding jobs. I feel like those conversations always come down from the vine to my ears of all the stress that comes with being married and adulting. So yeah, I'm very thankful for them. We're all very thankful for them, and I think all these things we've been through together are just nourishment and nutrients for all the things that we will go through together as a family in the future. Thank you for listening to this episode, and I hope that as you navigate maybe one day with your family about all these dynamics, you approach it with love and truth. Amen, boo, amen.
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 Since you just shared something so heartfelt, I think we also just need to say we're really grateful for you guys, especially because I am so used to being like one of us said, I'm very good at appointing you guys to higher task, so putting you into higher calling. So I think the way that I just introduce my relationship and then like wanting him to be part of your life definitely could have been done a lot more wiser in different ways. But I feel like we've all grown up a lot through this journey and got even closer, and especially during our whole month of wedding time, like we were really surrounded by all your love, your effort, your contribution in all 3 weddings. Yeah, so like that again shows how close we are and why like our relationship is so important, like regardless if I'm married or not, right? And then what I mean is like, even though like Wang Wang said, like being married is like you leave the family, but this relationship is still so central in our marriage. Yeah.
OK, very good. 现在我要切换为中文，哇，好流畅啊，我的中文。好，感谢各位听众的聆听、收听。然后呢，希望这一集祝福你，让你有一些反思。我们下一集再见，拜拜。
拜拜。